what's going on? Of course, that was ROTTREVORE. That was, I believe that was the Cleveland Splatterfest, which we'll talk about here shortly. You were watching Jamming Out. Oh, badass. My name is Francisco. Thanks, everybody, for coming in. Tell everybody about the show. Chris will be out here shortly. This is episode, 28? So, pretty cool. ROTTREVORE is definitely, obviously, I had to bust out the old shirt today. One of my all-time favorites, so it's cool to have Chris here to chat about the what he's got going on and chat about the old days. So, hell yeah. So, before we bring him on, just a few things to cover. Today actually is Texas Chainsaw Massacre Day. Who knew that? I knew that because Steve Eggs mentioned it yesterday. So, just thought I'd bring that up. It's Leatherface Day. Been many songs, many albums, in the underground death metal scene about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So there you go. Happy Texas Chainsaw Massacre Day to everybody. And then, yeah, the Extreme Music just released. We'll get into that. They just reissued some of their stuff, so that's cool. Fraser, you're cool, Fraser. You got the original. It's Drowned Productions, but I understand. Yeah, if you're here for the first time, hey man, I appreciate you hanging out. Take the time to check out the channel when you get a chance. If you like what you see, just subscribe to the damn thing. And it's going to be the only time I'm going to say that today. So there you go. Next, wanted to mention Sound Exchange. I mentioned Sound Exchange is actually helping sponsoring the show now. So Sound Exchange is a record store in Houston. So those of you in Houston, take your ass to Sound Exchange, support Sound Exchange. They've been supporting bands since '79. Been many different locations, but still, they're still at it. We're lucky to have underground record stores that support, the underground scene. They've been supporting everybody. So if you're not in Houston, you can still go to soundexchangehouston.com and check it out. They buy records. They'll order stuff for you. Hell, Fraser's there every Friday at the store. And like I said, they support bands all the time. I take my band stuff in there and they sell it. So what more do you want? And when you go in there, they don't harass you. They don't bug you about anything. They just let you check out what's in the store. And if you like something, so they treat you all badass, if you will. So anyway, those of you in Houston, take your ass to Sound Exchange soon and tell them I told you to go there. And if you're not in Houston, you can still check out the website, soundexchangehouston.com. So there you go. Then one last thing, Saturday, I'm going to have my buddy Scott Carroll from Cyanide is going to be joining me this Saturday. So this is a pretty heavy week, right? ROTTREVORE today and then Cyanide on Saturday. Fuck yeah, that's fucking awesome. So tune in for that. Tell everybody about Saturday show. Tell everybody come in right now. Come listen to us chat about probably one of the, if not one of the heaviest bands ever from Pennsylvania. So there you go. So there's my little announcements. So let's let me get off. Bleard comp. Yeah. Clogged Sewer Pipe. We'll talk about that song. It's kind of I remember hearing that, and I was like, I remember hearing ROTTREVORE had a track on there. I was like, how's that gonna work? Blearg is everybody's got like songs that could be longer than 20 seconds or some shit. But yeah, Cyanide World Tour. Cyanide don't even leave their house. So anyway. All right. So enough about that. So my guest today is, those of you that are already here know who it is. He's been part of the underground scene since way back in the 80s with he was in a band called Chaotic Plague, and then of course ROTTREVORE. One of the most influential bands in death metal for sure. They had their own sound. They catchy songs, just a great band, man. So coming to us live from Pennsylvania. I'm not sure exactly where, but let's welcome Chris Weber. What's up, Chris?
Hey, how you doing?
What's going on, man? Appreciate you coming on.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, man. It's got a lot of people chiming in already about some of the stuff you've done and all that. So anybody, if you have any questions for Chris along the way or any comments, just leave them in the chat and we'll get to them. We'll discuss them. But first of all, thanks to Sam Biles for helping me out getting this set up. Thanks to Roy Fox and thanks to John McEntee also for helping me actually get in contact with Chris. So yeah, there's Sam's thumb. So Roy, McEntee, and Sam, appreciate it. So all right, so that's out of the way. Let's get going. So how's things in your neck of the woods these days, as far as the whole pandemic thing? Are you guys like, is everything opened up out there? How's things going, or for you guys down that? Up that way these days.
It's a mess, and I try not to pay much mind to it, but it's I guess, just to put it mildly, it's just not as bad as it was this time last year. How's that sound?
That's it. That's a good point, actually, because I know even down here in Texas, we were one of the first ones to open up, but we were totally locked down at that time. So, and I guess it hasn't really affected you work-wise or anything that much.
No, not me. No.
Well, that's good. That's good. So let's. I like to start going way back. Growing up, did you grow up like around music as a young kid, like in your house? What kind of music did your parents listen to and all that stuff?
Oh yeah, there's FM radio is where it began for almost everybody in my generation, and AC/DC was my first favorite band, and I still love them even to this day. And I still remember having friends tell me, well, if there's a radio station called WDVE and they play AC/DC, and I still remember listening for hours at a time, waiting for them to play an AC/DC song. And I don't remember hearing them back then. But anyways, as the years would progress, they played a lot of AC/DC. So there's nobody in this world that doesn't know AC/DC. So,
well, yeah, and that's one of my favorite bands. And actually, that was actually the first band that I kind of worshipped as a kid. I was like 9 years old, and so that was pretty cool. But did anybody in your family play any instruments or anything? When you your parents or anything like that?
Oh yeah, and music comes from my mother's side of the family, and there's not much to talk about beyond that. But she played a piano when she was younger, and so there was a piano in the trailer that I grew up in from the time I was 9 up till I was in my late teens, and so the piano was always there. But I still wanted to play guitar. As far as in the DNA and the gene pool, the music come from my mother's side.
Did you play the piano?
Did I what?
Did you play it?
No, not really. I messed around with it occasionally and went through short spells with it, but it never amounted to anything.
Okay, yeah. So you say you started off with AC/DC, and obviously, you know, extreme music when you were young wasn't really around, I guess you can say. But AC/DC, what did you go to a lot of like concerts as a kid, like even before you were in a band, and any memories of that you'd like to share?
Oh yeah, certainly, yeah. You know, and I would go see bands that I really wasn't familiarized with, and that's how I got introduced to them, was by going to their concerts. So, you know, I've seen like Aerosmith, I've seen Ted Nugent, Judas Priest, I've seen, and then of course Led Zeppelin. By then was Plant and Page. You know, didn't have John Paul Jones in there. But anyhow, yeah. So I started to really embrace other bands that way, and even so, back then in that commercialized world, like the main master metal bands were, of course, Judas Priest and Iron Maiden.
Did you see? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say they were extreme compared to your Aerosmiths and your even Ted Nugent for that matter. And they had their own form of like, or had a way of coming across extreme, but not quite like Judas Priest and Iron Maiden. They were just the metal masters.
So what was your first concert?
My very first one was AC/DC in 1983. Really? Yeah.
Oh shit! Oh, yeah. Wow. Flick of the switch.
It was for Flick of the Switch. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably it's actually Sam sent me a Flick of the Switch like banner tapestry or whatever recently. So yeah, that's actually one of my favorite like Brian Johnson era albums. So speaking of AC/DC, I know I like it all. I like them all, but I usually listen to like the Bond stuff. What about you? I mean, being an AC/DC fan, what is your favorite AC/DC album?
My favorite one is Let There Be Rock, and that's of course Bon Scott. Yeah. But like, you know, when you consider Bon Scott's material and Brian Johnson's material, it's like a 51-49 split. And even from one day to the next, I could jump on either side of the fence with it because I love all AC/DC. But like, obviously the Bon Scott stuff is more nostalgic and older, but yeah, AC/DC. And then the song titles, you had to love the song titles like Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be. And
oh yeah,
you see that was off Let There Be Rock. And then Kicked in the Teeth come off of Powerage. And then you know, Highway to Hell itself, and they had some pretty brutal titles for being like a marketable rock and roll band.
Yep. Oh yeah. No, I agree. Let There Be Rock and like Powerage are like my 1 and 2 like favorite. To me, that's like AC/DC in their fucking prime. Like, you know, Let There Be Rock, Powerage, Highway to Hell era.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I love it all. So I can talk AC/DC all day long, and I'm sure you could too. But let's. Yeah, but so how early on did you pick up the guitar?
You know, I started playing when I was 12, and but I didn't take it seriously. And I had what seemed to be like a junky nylon string acoustic guitar, and I didn't realize when I was that young the guitar was supposed to have nylon strings, because that's like a classical guitar, or a lot of Spanish people play, or even Mexicans play nylon string guitars. But anyways, I thought it was junk, and I just couldn't get the enthusiasm to make anything of it. So I set it down after a few months and didn't really make much progress. And it wasn't until I was like 15 turning 16 that I started playing seriously, and I never looked back.
So I got a picture. I actually saw it. I took it off your band, which reminds me, I need to put the banner up. Your Facebook page. So everybody follow the ROTTREVORE Weber Massacre Facebook page.
Right.
And you'll see all of Chris's posts on there. But I saw this, and now that you talk about the piano, how long ago was this?
That picture was, I want to say exactly in 1986 or 1987, because that's like the first real guitar I ever bought right there.
Oh,
that's
yeah?
Yeah, that's a Washburn V. It was a bolt-on neck. And for the micro wage that I earned doing the labor job that I worked at that age, I spent over $400 to buy that guitar, and it was my most valued and prized possession. And it was my doorway to all this rock, and especially the metal. And that's a very special guitar. And really, that guitar, if you see it in real life, the red on it almost appears to be a blood red.
You still have it?
I do, but it's not playable. It's out of commission, and it would take a lot of money to get it playable again. And someday in my life, I might restore it and sink the money into it to make it playable. Yes.
Yeah, man. We're not getting any younger. You just bust it out for nostalgia's sake, you know.
Right.
So that was the piano you spoke of in the background, right?
Yes, it was.
That's awesome.
That's it. Awesome, that's it. In that picture, yeah.
What kind of songs were you playing? What was like the very first songs you learned, and did you take lessons or anything?
Well, you know, as the years have progressed, I reached a place in my life where I don't claim to be self-taught at all. I literally absorbed a little bit from everybody around me, and I had actual lessons for what may be made for 2.5, 3, 4 months at the very longest that were actual, you know, lessons in a little lesson room with a teacher.
Yeah.
But anyways, I had a friend that played guitar back then, and he had a guitar real similar to that Washburn V. It was black with blue sunburst, and it was a beautiful guitar too. And anyhow, he had parents that were pretty well off financially, and they paid for his lessons. Well, he would go to guitar lessons and learn bits, parts, and pieces of songs, and come home and play them. And I would go over to his house and hang out with him. And I was like, show me what your guitar teacher taught you, and show it to me. So he taught me like Hell's Bells, and he taught me a couple Black Sabbath songs. And so like I just knew like intros to songs and different parts of the songs. Back then I wasn't even playing whole songs, but I was having a blast with playing them on a guitar that played so easy. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think a lot of people when you talk to people that like played instruments for years, I mean, it seems like everybody you hear like, yeah, I took lessons, but you know, I didn't really care for it because they were just trying to teach you like, you know, I guess theory and scales and whatever. It's like, man, just show me how to play fucking like Beating Around the Bush or something like that. You know what I mean? So
right. Yeah. Back then, like I had some like run-in episodes of sorts with, you know, are you doing this the proper way? Are you learning the theory side of this? And the crazy thing is now that all the years progressed, that's all I think about is theory. It's, to me, that's what makes it all make sense. And, you know, copying songs is great because I've learned to copy a bunch of songs through the years, but still like the intrigue that's involved with learning the theory side of it is amazing. So when you get underground metal players like Eric Rutan would be a great example. Like they have to have some kind of, if he don't have it and ain't able to talk this out, I'm sure Eric Rutan has like a theory insight that's like mind boggling because, you know, it's all about chromatics. And, you know, like these songs that were written through the years, they weren't like in proper keys and they weren't in like minor and major modes. They had a bunch of chromatic series of notes. And then, of course, someone like Jeff Hanneman from Slayer or Kerry King would be the same way. And so that's what made it more interesting is because all the different variances and how those songs were written versus conventionalized songs that you hear off the radio, although they can be complex as well. But like, you know, you have to have some kind of theory insight to make compositions that sound like that. Yeah, but when you, of course, but when you're a kid, you picked up the guitar because you wanted to fucking play like, you know, like you said, a Sabbath song or something like that right away, right? So you learn to appreciate like, you know, somebody as yourself who's actually, you know, taking the time to learn how to play and do this and that, you know, as the years go on. But as a kid, you're like, you know, I want to learn how to play fucking Welcome to Hell or, you know, whatever. So, that's cool. I appreciate you sharing that.
Now, how did you make the jump into like extreme music? Like, you know, did you stumble upon it? Did you from friends, or how'd that happen?
I don't know. Can you see Chaotic Plague behind my head? Let me move my head a little bit. You can see Chaotic
yeah, Plague. That's awesome, man.
Well, that's where like kind of the journey began. I was in a band that played radio songs, otherwise known as cover songs, and we copied songs, and pretty complex songs like Iron Maiden songs, Metallica songs. We did a lot of classic rock like Golden Earring, Steppenwolf, The Who, and that kind of stuff. And anyways, in my mid and late teens, I was playing these songs like that. And there was a band at the time called Stage Death, which later became Chaotic Plague. And anyways, Stage Death they were making their own song. And at the time, when I was getting acquainted with these guys, they was introduced to me the idea of like making their own songs, where almost everybody at the time was copying songs and doing Judas Priest and AC/DC and Aerosmith. And like their music was kind of elementary and it was simplistic. And to me at the time when I was discovering it, it left a lot to be desired. But however, I still embraced it because I thought to myself, well, you know, I'm copying these songs and they're really hard songs to play, like Metallica songs, rhythm wise and stuff like that. Even Judas Priest songs, they're not easy to play. And here's these guys, they're called Stage Death, and that's pre-Chaotic Plague. And they're making up their own song. It's really simplistic and easy. But I thought to myself, well, give them this credit that they're at least trying to make their own song. And so to me, that had a value about it. And I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to jump in this with these guys and try to create songs with them. And so that's where the journey began, to try to make up your own song. And even from then to especially now, it's always been a challenge, because when you're going to make up your own song, you're going to make a guitar riff or a guitar part that's going to have a tendency to sound like something that's already out there. And so back then, I know we made guitar parts and pieces that sound like a ripoff of SOD, might have sounded like a ripoff of an Anthrax song, if not the whole song, at least the parts and the chunk parts and what have you. But anyways, I was so amused with the idea of, hey, let's try to make up our own song. And so I had a very elementary approach back then to making up my own song, but I was like, let's do this. So that was the doorway to it.
So, all right. So that leads us perfectly into this. This was the first Chaotic Plague demo, right?
That's correct.
And what memories do you have of this, like recording it and putting the songs together and all that? If you could speak on that a little bit.
Well, you see, it really, to be more appropriate, I was always telling Jay, the drummer, and he was kind of the core of the band. And Jay is a very outstanding musician and a creator of ideas and stuff. And I kept on telling Jay when we was making that, I says, let's always reference Blood Slime as a rehearsal demo. And because I wanted it to be rehearsal, because that was recorded with a tape recorder. It's not even a 4-track recorder. That whole cassette tape has like tremendously good sound. And it was done with a Gold Star radio.
Hell yeah.
And so I didn't like to call it just a demo. I would like to refer to it as a rehearsal demo. But its sound quality was so clear and so good that it was, I guess you could say, worthy of just calling a demo. And I'm very proud of that piece right there.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of bands, back then, used like just a regular tape recorder to record rehearsals, and like you said, they ended up sounding good enough to put it out there and let people know what you got going on and what you're doing, what you're coming up with. But it's amazing how nowadays, like, if you were to try that, it wouldn't sound anywhere near as good as the recording, like the tape recorders back then for some reason, which is kind of weird to think about,
Yeah, and at the time, it was a big radio, it had giant speakers, and I mean, this thing was huge, and it's the little built-in recorder microphone was so perfect, and and of course that would be analog because that's a cassette tape, but
right.
at the time we're like, hey, you know, before we actually like try to go to a studio and spend money, let's make the best of what we got here in this radio and make a recording out of it. And so, you know, it's, again, I'm proud of that recording and the way that it turned out. It was done on a tape recorder with a radio, 2 speakers.
Yeah, that's amazing. To me, like what those old tape recorders were capable of doing, you know, it's just blows my mind. Did you play live shows with that with Chaotic Plague?
Yeah, we did a few live shows in the local area in Bell Vernon.
Any standout shows or anything that stuck with you all these years?
No, not really. We didn't play that many shows, and the few that we did they were all gems, and they were all good time because, you know, we at the time we're trying to be, I guess you could say, cutting edge, only because, you know, we were trying maybe not a deep guttural growl for vocals, but a raspy style of vocals. And so, you know, like we were outstanding in that way as far as, you know, exploring territory where no one else had ever been, because everyone else had what I'm just calling acceptable vocals. And here we're trying to do raspy vocals because our influences then were like Millie from Creator. And of course, Tom Angel Ripper from Sodom. And they had a rasp their vocals, as did David Vincent on the Thy Kingdom Come demo from Morbid Angel. And that was 1987. And so we were like trying to emulate that style of vocals. And back then, I mean, people, you know, you would get holy water and signs like this at you for trying something so brave. And so every time Chaotic Plague played a show, it was always memorable.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because I've other people I've had on the show, like John McEntee, Alex Brooks, they talk about how like the early days of you know, Agoraphobia and Incantation and all those bands getting together. There was a lot of other people that were like kind of looking down at the kind of stuff that they were kind of trying to do, since it was more brutal, more extreme. I don't know if you guys got that same type of reaction over there.
Oh yeah, and to this day, I've like coined my own phrases and terms, and in my upbringing, my music was referred to as horrible music, and then oftentimes it was referred to as unacceptable music. So I'm very proud to say that my music is horrible and unacceptable.
Well, I mean, it was something new, and it was like, you know, people just most people weren't used to it or weren't ready for it, I guess I should say. It was such a new thing. They're like, you know, because I hear a lot of these bands that like I said, that I grew up listening to, like you guys and Incantation and all that talk about that often, how they would just get shit for just, you know, from other people that were still like thrashing or whatever, you know. Well, they're like,
if I might make an assertion, everything about this music was about escalation. Yeah, and it was like build ideas upon ideas. And so, you know, there was a time period where just as a listener, even if you didn't play the music, you went to find extreme music. And when I say extreme, I'm not talking about the record label that it's today with Dave Rotten, but, you know, any kind of radical music, unacceptable music, you had to turn to a different outlet to find just such music. And so there was a group of us in the Pittsburgh vicinity that would go to a store called Ides, and Ides carried imports. Awesome. And so everything and anything you couldn't find at the regular music stores that sold cassette tapes and even discs at the time, you had to go to Ides to find it. And then, you know, to skip a couple steps and take this even further, when we got into tape trading, it was the whole world opened up by then. So anyways, the escalation thing I'm talking about is, you know, back then when you discovered those bands, you know, the speed at which they played, the heavy guitar sounds, you know, the way they played a bass guitar with distortion on it. And even so, you know, when you look hindsight, you got to really give a lot of credit to somebody like Dan Lilker, because he used distortion on his bass guitar on SODs Speak English or Die album. And so that predates so much of the stuff we're even talking about. But like all the other Escalation stuff kept building up. And so when you got involved in the tape trading scene, it was like, you know, you had 2, 3, or 4 bands that were the most extreme, whether drop tuning, real guttural vocals, the distortion on the bass, all these different elements that make the music sound the way that it does. And so from one week to the next week, or on a monthly basis, you got to a point where, like, you know, oh, you know, I found a band that would dethrone that band that you told me about 2 months ago. Where do you hear their guitar sound? So that was all the appeal to listening to this kind of music was, is because it was the escalation factor. And to me, I think it reached its pinnacle in like anywhere between, say, 91 and 94, 95. And to me, my cutoff point for years, and kind of I feel like it still is 1995. Like 1996 and beyond, the only thing I even liked after in the late 90s and now was Hate Eternal. And I've discovered stuff since then, but at the time when I was coming back to the scene, I didn't like it unless it was 1995 or earlier. But yeah, so Hate Eternal was the exception. 91.
Well, I know the feeling. So staying on the tape trading thing, I mean, obviously it helped get the ROTTREVORE name out there by doing that. And who were some of the, like, I guess, notable, like, people you would trade with, like bands, like people in like the Nihilist guys, or can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, you know, Adwin, he had a record company called Cenotaph years ago.
Oh yeah.
And I traded with him. And then there was a guy that did a fanzine called Spikehead, and he was in France. I can't remember his name, and I feel bad, and I feel sorry that I don't remember his name. But he and I were tape trading and doing stuff with that fanzine because we were featured in Spikehead in like 1993, 92, or 91. And my tape trade list of people that I tape traded with was pretty short. It was anywhere between, say, as little as 6, but maybe right around a dozen people. Yeah. And even so, though, I kind of was grandfathered into the tape trading from Mark himself.
Yeah, I was going to say,
had a huge tape trading list. And so, you know, if not for Mark's help, I don't know how far I'd have got into tape trading. But so he was a kind of a springboard for me to get into tape trading. But my tape trade list, I was real selective about what I wanted. And I didn't want like junky sounding live shows. But I want to say my tape trade list was anywhere between 275 and upwards of 350 titles at the time.
Nice. All right. So moving on from that, talk about forming. How after Chaotic Plague, you ended up forming ROTTREVORE. Talk a little bit about the early days, the early days of getting ROTTREVORE together, and what memories you have of that, like of the very early days, even before recording anything.
Well, the way it happened for me with Chaotic Plague, and there's more to this story, but to try to make it as brief as possible, I was reaching a point where I was getting dissatisfied and didn't feel like I had an influence in the band enough where I set out to just form my own band. And so I didn't want to leave Chaotic Plague, but I had my reasons. And I said, well, I want to go start a band of my own. And so that's what I did. I left Chaotic Plague in exactly September of, I couldn't tell you the exact date or the hour, but as good as I am with numbers and my computer brain and stuff, it was in September of 1989. So wow. It's coming up in 32 years that I quit Chaotic Plague. And you know, as the end of 1989 progressed, I was determined to form a death metal band. And it was Mark that approached me about teaming up as a guitar tandem to form ROTTREVORE.
So let's talk about, to me, I don't know what your thoughts are on this demo 31 years later, but to me, this is one of the greatest death metal demos, like, of all time, without a doubt. You know, that's my perspective. I know you recorded this 31 years ago, and Sam will agree with me, as you can see his thumb. But I mean, this demo is like, you know, the first of all, let's talk about your guitar tone on this thing, which is one of the most legendary. Like, you guys have had your sound like right away. You know, it's like, because a lot of bands you'll listen to a band's demo, and their first demo and then their second demo, their sound changes a little bit as far as you guys right away knew, kind of nailed it right away, because you kind of kept that same tone and kind of feel throughout the existence of the band. So talk a little bit about recording this, and what do you remember about it, and your guitar tones specifically right now.
Yeah, you know, actually listening in hindsight fashion to the guitar tones Mark and myself had, you know, I think that's wonderful and awesome that you feel that way about the sound of the guitars, the guitar tone, even the bass tone on the recording as well.
Well, yeah, of course, and that shouldn't get overlooked either, because the bass tone on that is fucking massive, man. So,
but anyhow, you know, as good as the guitar sound was, I thought it could have been better. But I mean, all that matters is that a listener like yourself and maybe several others out there in the underground death metal world might appreciate that guitar tone. But you know, I think between the low tuning and just the way we EQ'd the guitars and stuff, it did all the speaking for us in a figurative sense. But like, I don't know. I between Mark and myself, I don't think, you know, we were still trying to find our sound, even if that does represent what everybody believes to be ROTTREVORE's perfect sound. I wasn't quite 100% satisfied. It was pretty good, but I wasn't satisfied with it. I'm glad you like it.
Well, yeah, I mean, having recorded stuff, I always look back at things as like, you know, we could have done this different, and so I understand that side of it. But trust, I mean, I'm sure you know this, but trust me when I tell you that there's plenty of people that agree with my opinions on that. Not only that demo, but everything else. So what did you guys use? I don't know if you want to talk about that, but what did you use? You know, as far as amps and all that.
You know, if I remember correctly, I basically played through my clean channel of my a Mesa Boogie 50 caliber. It was the smallest Mesa Boogie head there was at the time, and I played through the clean channel with a Boss Heavy metal pedal. I really never experimented with anything beyond that, and
wow.
But it still turned out to be a pretty good sound. You know, I can't help but ask, like, if people feel that way about the sound of our guitars or even the bass guitar on that recording, how does it compare to the Iniquitous album? Because I like the Iniquitous album as much or more, and I don't know if it has something to do with production, but I thought Mark had got a really heavy guitar sound on the Iniquitous album. Do you think that we saved or recaptured the sound that you love so much on the Iniquitous?
Absolutely. To me, it was pretty consistent from the demo. Yeah, the production got a little better, but that guitar sound and that bass sound stayed consistent to me throughout. It just just sounded better. It just obviously a little cleaner on Iniquitous, which is still it's heavy ass album. Trust me, yeah. I'm just focusing on the demo right now because that's kind of where I'm at in the conversation. Okay. But the 7 inches are fucking classic too, and the album as well. But yeah, I mean, trust me, ROTTREVORE's guitar sound and tones and all that is known around the world to be just fucking like just heavy as fuck, you know. So
well, that's very pleasing to me. But you know, in my estimations, it seems like Rot kind of got a more of a reputation for our vocals than our guitar sounds. And so at the time when I didn't feel satisfied with our guitar sounds, I used to think to myself, well, you know, really having vocals that are that deep, and how, like, when we did the vocals, I did my best to enunciate the words real clearly and so forth. And so when you consider the combination of like a heavy guitar sound along with really deep vocals, without mentioning a series of bands, a lot of bands had a really volcanic heavy guitar sound, but their vocals lacked. And that was fine. If you had that heavy guitar sound, that would carry all the weight for you. And so, but if you could have the combination of both a heavy guitar sound and vocals, and my personal favorite from that era was Funebre. They were a band from Finland.
Oh yeah.
And I want to say it was 1991, and it was if it wasn't the Cranial Torment demo, I can't remember the name of the demo before or after that. And I want to say the vocalist's name was Jari. And okay, Jari has to this day the deepest guttural vocals I've ever heard of anybody that are not without any effects. And then Funebre had a pretty bitchin' heavy guitar sound to go along with that.
Oh yeah, no, those demos, those two Funebre demos are up there too, as far as I'm concerned, as far as heaviness and brutality. And now I'm glad you bring up the vocals, because you and I talked about it a little bit earlier, how you and Mark were like, basically you had two people that could have been a lead vocalist in the band easily, to me, because you both are like, you're like, you had your songs. And how did you guys, I guess you sang the songs that you wrote the guitar parts for, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah. And it was neat because in a humorous sense, it's almost like tag team lead vocals, and it was a good thing because my vocals at that age, 23 and younger, were pretty deep for a tall and skinny guy, the way that I'm built.
Oh yeah, we saw it on the video. You saw it on the video. I mean, you're not cheating.
Right. And so, but like, I couldn't get as deep as Mark, and Mark is tremendous. But again, I like to think of it as like, it's a package deal. You need to have heavy guitar sound and, heavy production and heavy bass and drums that thundered and everything else. So, Mark, to me, was very comparable to Jari himself in Funebre. But, I thought to myself back then that, if it was just me in the band, I think I can carry this band with my vocals as well. But, I always relied on my guitar playing prowess. And so, but my vocals were good enough to do the job. And when you put Mark and myself together, it was a neat combination. But what really made it neat was try to envision this. I want to try to get this in the field of vision. I would be playing to left or right, and Mark would be opposite of me, and the bass player standing in the middle. And the bass player kind of gets a spotlight because you have two like deep guttural vocal style death metal vocals on the left and right. So the bass player gets the middle of the stage. So it was a neat thing as far as that goes. It was balanced.
Yeah, I mean, just staying with the vocals, I mean, as that video proved, I mean, you were able to do that without like, you know what I mean? So
right.
it wasn't fucking cupping, cheating, wimpy shit,
right.
It came from right fucking here, so
right.
And that's another thing. I mean, the vocals, like I told you earlier, I think ROTTREVORE is the only band that had two vocalists that were that fucking brutal in the band. And I mean, you had Carcass with Bill and Jeff, but they were two totally different vocal styles. But ROTTREVORE, it's like you said, if let's say you couldn't fucking sing whatever for one night, and Mark could easily fill in, and vice versa. So that was always really, really something unique with ROTTREVORE, I thought.
Right.
So
I don't know if you're aware of this, Francisco. I don't know if you're aware of this, but like, if you listen on the demo, though, I want to say it's on the demo cassette because all the songs are repeated except for one on the album. I actually tried the high pitched. What would you call them? It wasn't deep and guttural vocals, but they were high pitched because I wanted Mark to have the low side and I'll take the high side. But by the time we recorded the album, though, I wanted them to be all low. I didn't even want to do them high vocals no more.
Yeah, and but I think you sang you would do like some kind of things every now and then.
Right, exactly.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Like I said, I know that I know the ROTTREVORE stuff like forwards and backwards. So, and you sang on Actions for Loss, which is the demo version, is absolutely one of the fucking heaviest things in the world. So
Yeah.
That
If we
song,
were able to get the band back together and play that live, we would try to like emulate what's on the demo rather than
yeah,
what's on
that fucking slow doomy intro.
Yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
dude, that's fucking unreal. And then when that dude, that it still gives, just talking about it right now still gives me fucking chills, dude.
Oh, good, good.
It's so brutal. And so let me go back. Somebody had a good question, Dustin.
Okay.
Did you use different heads or pedals on the Iniquitous album?
No, you know what? I used the I'm trying to think. Did I end up with one of those Metal Zone pedals by then? I don't know if I did or didn't. No, I think I used the same stuff, the Boss Heavy Metal and Mesa Boogie 50 caliber and clean channel, and just EQ'd it.
Yeah. All right. So the next thing, you guys did a track on what I think is a very classic death metal compilation. I think I have a photo here. I should have saved. Oh, here it is. I think that was shortly after the demo. You guys did a version of Disembodied on the Pantalgia compilation.
On Pantalgia, yeah, that's correct.
Dude, that's one of the, like, as far as death metal comps, that's like up there. Of course, it's got Cenotaph, you guys, fucking, you name it. You can see the track list there. But you guys, re-recorded that song for that, right?
Yeah, specifically make a different recording of the same song just for that particular compilation album. Yes. Yeah,
Disembodied is a fucking just. I mean, I'll say this about all the fucking old songs. They're just fucking unreal, man. It's just like. Go ahead.
To make a comment about Disembodied, to me, it's that song is primarily a piece that Mark did on his own. And I don't know that I'm speaking for him. I think I'm pretty accurate at a guess, though. I think that song was really influenced by Terrorizer. And so, because to me, it's like when you compare it to the other songs on the album, it has a different sound. And, it's, to me, since it has that Terrorizer influence, because it doesn't have a guitar solo, and it's a radically different sounding song on the album, because it ain't constructed and put together in the way that, say, Unanimous Approval or Gestures of Recession was, or especially Incompetent Secondary. But Disembodied, I believe, was the Terrorizer influence coming through Mark. I hope I'm saying that correctly.
Because it had that heavy ass riff at the end. I can hum every song, but I won't. Sharon said you had custom cabinets too. You want to talk a little bit about you want to talk on that?
Yeah, that's funny too. That's funny. I'm like giving away the recipe to this. This is good. Everybody listen up. This is really good.
Well, this video will be up forever, so people want to.
Okay.
But get your own damn sound, people. Don't copy anybody.
Well, but get this. So both my speaker boxes were custom made, and the second one I had made had just 2 speakers in it. And you know what? I don't think I'm going to give away what's in this speaker box. But anyhow, this speaker box, in the future age of backlining, because when I was doing this in the 90s, there was no such thing as backlining. And so this backlining thing is like, everybody shared the same motel room kind of thing, and I'm just not into that. And so here it is. I get in a situation with these other bands, and they see my squeaky little 2-speaker box. And they're looking at it and they're poking fun and go, oh, look at that. Where'd you get that, from Walmart or something? And so they're like poking fun at it. And I'm here to tell you that this thing, if you cabled it to a Celestion box or a Marshall box, it would vibrate the shit out of it and literally destroy it. So my squeaky little box with only 2 speakers is like just lethal. And so when it came to backlining, there was a lot of guitar players that looked at it and, oh yeah, I'm playing through your stupid little 2-speaker box. Oh yeah, get away from me with that. I want my Marshall stuff. I'm like, okay, that's fine with me. It don't matter. So anyways, the speaker box that I had is a custom box, and it's got space shuttle grade speakers in it, and it's made for unearthing the things that are rooted deep in the ground. That's
there
all
you go.
I'm
That's
saying.
what Roy nailed it. Earth Mover.
Right.
And Dustin says half the bands are taking notes right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
the funny thing is I think there might be people out there who have tried to copy this cabinet, and I don't know that they came up with the same results, because I've heard stories about stuff rattling. Mine doesn't rattle. Now it'll rattle everything around it, but it doesn't rattle.
hell yeah. Yeah, but I will say this: somebody can pick up your exact guitar, your exact amp, your cabinet, your settings, your everything, and they still won't be able to play, Actions for Lost to make it sound like you. So it's the fingers and the person playing it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, there's all the little things factor in.
yeah.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, the speaker is heavy in weight as it is in sound.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's got to handle all that fucking low end, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's. So the demo after that comp, you guys did the compilation, a 7-inch. Now, to me, this one, I don't know if it was on the 7-inch. To me, the guitar sound kind of suffered, maybe because of the length of the songs. It seemed like maybe that's what it was. I'm not sure, but what do you recall about recording this? And do you even listen to it anymore? And what are your thoughts on this?
Because to me, at least in my listening ears, that's a bad example to represent Rott's sound. And we went to the same studio we did the demo tape on, and then as we did, in fact, tune to a C. Our bottom string was a C rather than a B on that recording. And not that like drop tuning is the end all and the beginning of heaviness for one band to the next, but like we had different EQ'd sounds on that, so that's a bad representation. We played the songs good and all, but as far as the production in our guitar sounds, it lacked when you compare it to the demo, but especially the Iniquitous album. Yes. Yeah.
No, I have to agree. The songs are great, but as far as like sound, I agree with you. I think this is the one that's got the, I don't want to say weak because it's still heavy as hell, but it doesn't have the same punch for some reason.
Yeah, yeah.
So speaking of this, I want to show you this. I got this, and I told you about it. I got this. Somebody, he said he was going to be tuning in, checking it out tonight, but he sent me this photo. Where's it at? I got it. Oh, here it is. This is the ultimate compliment, right? Check that out.
Okay. I'm trying to make that out. Is that
That's the tattoo.
Somebody had a tattoo.
Yeah, the ROTTREVORE that compilation, that head or whatever, the artwork tattooed on his arm.
You know what? Is that the monster? I'm trying to make that out. That's the monster on Pentalgia, ain't it? That's
yeah. I'm sorry, I'm totally confused.
Yeah, that's what that is. Yeah, that's Mark's creation there. That monster face on.
Let me zoom it in. Yeah, that's right. You're right. Yeah, but that's had you seen a ROTTREVORE tattoo before?
No, I can't say that I have. That's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, that's cool.
Now,
man.
when somebody shows up with a big green Rott logo across the top of their back, I'll be impressed.
Or carve ROTTREVORE into their arm like the Slayer.
There you go. Yeah.
So anyway, I thought that was pretty fucking cool. Now after that, I wanted to show you. I came across this. I thought it was pretty funny. Well, actually, let's talk about. This is a lineup since we're on that era. This photo here, I'm going to zoom it in, and I was laughing because I got it from Roy, and if you look up on top, you see that I Love Jesus sticker on the wall there.
Yeah.
So where was this taken
Oh,
at?
you want an explanation on that or what?
Well, yeah. Well, where was this taken at? And what do you remember?
That appears to be my apartment when I was in my early 20s, and I moved into the apartment. I think it was already on that light switch or something. That's like a light switch or something like that. I can't remember.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, when Roy sent me that, he's like, he labeled it "I Love Jesus" photo or something like that. And I'm like, what the fuck's he talking about? And then I look at it, I was like, oh shit, there's an "I Love Jesus" sticker on the wall there. So.
Hey, well, if I could make a comment or assertion about the picture itself, like a white shirt like that and blue jeans, no, that's off limits. Well, but if it's a hot summer day and you don't want to like absorb all that sunlight, it's good to wear a white shirt or a gray shirt anyways. But like, that's cool. It's a Deceased shirt. And I love that. Is that the second Deceased demo?
Nuclear Exorcist or whatever?
Nuclear Exorcist.
I think that's technically
no, wait.
Nuclear
Exorcist was the second.
No, it's the third.
What was the name of that? I can't remember it. Anyways, it had 7 songs on it. That's a great demo tape, by the way.
Yep. Here, King Chud. King Chud is the guy with the tattoo. So there you go.
Okay.
No beliefs. So, but yeah, that's the I guess the original lineup, right?
Well, I don't like to call it the original lineup. Me personally, I call it the first lineup.
Oh, first lineup, yeah.
Yeah, because the drum stool with the drum kit was sort of musical chairs back then, and so, the first drummer, he was a rock and roll drummer we drafted, and he was a good drummer, and but I don't really see Nick as the original drummer, but the first drummer, and then you can enumerate the drummers after that.
I got you. I personally dug his style. I mean, everybody had their own style, which I thought was cool, but it still sounded like ROTTREVORE in the end. Yeah. But so yeah, I wanted to share that photo. All right, and this one here. Now this one had a really good sound, I think. The Fornication 7-inch.
It was marginally better than the compilation of the Virtuous and Vicious EP, but it was a little improvement.
Well, I think it sounds fucking great in my ears. Now, the song, what is it? Try to remember.
Unanimous Approval.
Unanimous Approval, and then Conspiracize. Conspiracize had like a beat. It had that boom, that kind of galloping beat, which to me that was something not too many bands were doing at the time, as far as like the pace on that song. And then also Unanimous Approval had that weird fucking like snare tom and harmonic thing or whatever. So
I heard a drummer say one time, it could have been Christian Easley. He mentioned the term polyrhythmic. So a lot of our rhythms were so irregular that, a standard 4/4 beat or a 3/4 beat, a 2/4 beat, or just a steady 3-count beat wouldn't adequate the song. So you had to make it up as you go along. So I guess hence the term polyrhythmic. And then another term I use myself is timing offset or offset timing. Because I don't want anyone to think for a moment that, you're off on your time. No, it's offset timing.
And still saying that, the songs still maintain that heaviness sound, that heavy sound, ROTTREVORE sound, and it, you could still fucking, headbang to it or whatever, So
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, to me, that's a cool, really good 2-song. I personally, I wish there would have been more songs, but that's just me being selfish, right?
Well, them 45s, or otherwise known as EPs or 7-inches. That was the nature of them, to be 2 songs, depending on the length. I mean, you can't put much more than 3 or 4 unless you make your songs, say less than 3 minutes each in the 2-minute range or something like that.
Yeah. Now at this time, you guys are. Well, I guess we'll go to the album. which was originally released on Drowned.
That's correct.
On CD, I believe, only initially, because I have the old CD here somewhere. But and you've mentioned how this is your favorite, like sounding wise of those days.
Yeah,
if
exactly.
You would
it's not perfect, but to me, it represents the sound the best to me. Yes.
And are you? I guess when you listen to it, if you would go back and listen to it, are you pretty much satisfied with the way this, that your name is on this, and how do you feel about this album all these years later?
It's got strong points and negative points and stuff. Strong's positive, and then the negative ones. There's something about familiarization with music, and like the more familiarized you are with a song and you play it, repetitiously and play it for months and years at a time, and it just gets so burned in your soul that you get so familiarized with it, you don't realize it, but you're starting to play it faster. So, like, I'll use Dismal Fate as an example. I did the intro to that song, and because of this over familiarization I'm describing, it caused me to play it too fast. And so that's one of several things that I could nitpick at the album as far as how I played and the way that it came out and the sound and the production and everything. But like the strong points would be, like the solos that I play in both Gestures of Recession and Incompetent Secondary. They were when I was just really starting to come into my own with my guitar playing, because the soloing on the other songs are like sloppy and they're very incomplete to me. And so really the best solos on the album are off the two newest songs, which would be Gestures of Recession and Incompetent Secondary. And my picking style was getting really sharp and accurate, and I was very pleased with it. And my only regrets is we didn't have new songs to put on there for me to showcase my style better. But it's still, I can go through a list on the whole album.
Well, that lead, it's funny you mentioned that lead on Gestures of Recession. There's one where it's like the lead ends and it goes into that dun, 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 dun,
yeah,
some heavy part. That's a really cool lead actually on that goes right at, like, I guess it finishes and goes into that fucking headbanging part or whatever you want to call it.
Well,
but,
we always called it a chunk part, and I like to call it a slam dance part. And anyways, the solo going into it, and see, that solo is remarkable to me and outstanding, because when I was that young and rehearsing the way that I did, I play almost no legato in that solo at all. And so my speed picking was really accurate and super fast back then. And so that's a really extremely hard solo to play, as is Incompetent Secondary. But anyways, after finishing the guitar solo and going into that chunk part in Gestures of Recession, we always wanted a song that had a chunk part where it's got rhythms from start to finish that have a groove to them, but still we needed that chunk part where if you're not paying attention, now this part of the song stops you in your tracks and makes you want to slam dance or throw elbows. And so that was the I don't want to recycle and use everyone else's terms, but people like to call it a breakdown, and I don't want to use that term.
I hate that word too. But I wish I just wish that part was longer, for me. That way I can fucking just a little bit longer. But that's about it.
Because the music that we were like weaned on to get to this point. Like, let me take, for example, like Pleasure to Kill from Creator. It's like they not only had chunk parts throughout their songs, they had rhythm chunk parts. They had multiple chunk parts in all those songs. And that was the influence they even want to play. Or even something like Celtic Frost with Procreation of the Wicked, that rhythm. And what'd you say, Sam? In Dark Angel, Black Prophecies. So those chunk parts define the sound of the song. So that's where I'm still at with it today. Like, music really don't appeal to me unless it's got that chunkiness. This playing as fast as you possibly can and making it sound like a snare drum's being shot with a machine gun or the bass drums, that hardly appeals to me. I want to hear a riff like Procreation of the Wicked, or I just mentioned Dark Angel, Black Prophecies, or anything off that Creator Pleasure to Kill album.
Yeah.
And so we always wanted to make songs that had chunk parts that made you slam dance. And even so, you still want the whole song to make you want to slam dance. But if you got people that got a little bit settled for the moment, the chunk part would get them going.
Yeah, actually, you know what? It's funny that as soon as you mention Procreation of the Wicked, I agree with Dylan here. If ROTTREVORE would have covered Procreation of the Wicked, it would have cracked the earth in two, man.
Yeah.
Bam,
Sam, that's the rest. That's the rest. I don't know if you can hear Sam. He's over to my right over here. He just asserted that Mortician did in fact redo. He covered Procreation of the Wicked. Yep.
Did they really?
And then think about the more modern stuff, and it went into the 90s because Creator and Celtic Frost are way into the 80s. But by the time like Dismember and Carnage and Entombed come out, and even so Nihilist in the end of the 80s, they had almost all songs with chunk parts like that. And that was the motivation to want to play. And we were making our stuff back then, but we didn't have it recorded to get it out there as soon as those guys. But I'm not going to steal their thunder at all. They are a giant influence to Rot. I would never change that.
Yeah, it's interesting hearing you talk about like Creator and stuff like that, because I mean, I guess people will probably that just proves that you can be influenced by something and not sound like it at all. You kind of take,
definitely.
So and a lot of, and going back to other people I've talked to, they would say, yeah, we fucking love Creator, we love Slayer, we loved all this shit, but we didn't want to sound like them. We wanted to be fucking heavier. We wanted to be faster than fucking Slayer, and that's why a lot of those like early death metal bands like that, they always cite those bands as influences because, but they didn't actually fucking rip them off or anything like that, so.
Right. And me as a fan of and listener to the music, I love virtuoso guitar playing, and there's players outside of the death metal realm that are amazing, but just to keep it in the death metal realm and underground type stuff, some of my favorite players, and I coined this years ago, so listen up if you heard this anywhere else. I've been calling a guitar solo a cat fight for years. And how it began for me is because when I was discovering Slayer in the mid 80s and the end of the 80s, I was a little bit late to it, but I was discovering it then. And I would hear Kerry King or Jeff Hanneman play a guitar solo. And I was like, oh, I don't like it. And, their songs are good, but I don't like it. So erase that part, what I just said, because now fast forward time, that's the highlight of the song. So anyways, Kerry King and Jeff Hanneman were the creators and inventors of a cat fight guitar solo. And so do I have to explain that to you why I call it a cat fight? Because with the way they would grab that tremolo bar and hit a harmonic and pick so violently and viciously and everything else, it reminded me of two cats, like just ripping each other to shreds. And so as the years would progress, I would discover other cat fight guitar soloing pickers, like the number one example of the world for cat fight is Trey Zagthar.
I was just gonna say that.
There's nobody that does a cat fight like Trey Zagthar. And so Richard Brunel was like that. Eric Rutan was like that. Even so, Eric Rutan's style is more refined today, but I remember Eric Rutan and Ripping Corpse ripping some serious cat fight guitar solos. And so as the years would progress, I'm like, well, that's what I like about the death metal is, got all this chunkiness, you got the chunk parts, the slam dancing, the distortion on the bass. But I'm like, I want to hear a song that's got a cat fight in it. I don't want no melodic stuff. I mean, I can appreciate melodic stuff like Iron Maiden and Alex Golden from Testament. I can appreciate that. But like, here it is, you get a band like Massacre or I just mentioned Ripping Corpse. And, if they're going to play guitar solo to those rhythms, it just sounds so much sweeter with a cat fight.
I can actually agree with that. Like, I like really noisy, like leads like that, and like the first Carcass album to me. I mean, people would like laugh at it and all that. It's just noise, but I fucking love all that noisy leads that they do on that album. You know, so it's just, I think it adds something to it.
I don't know that I would say that Bill Steer's guitars playing on that Recapitulation album would be cat fights, but it is very raw. It's very unfriendly. It has all these good qualities, but you know, to me, I love Carcass as a death metal band, but I like them better as a grindcore band, and I hope that don't offend him or any fans, but they got great death metal. But I love the Recapitulation album. That's the best thing they've ever made.
I agree. Anybody that knows me will tell you that that I fucking Carcass, like they died after the second album to me. So you know, and like what you like, but that's my fucking I hate hard work. So somebody asked where to go. It's probably somebody you know, because it was a very specific. Spirit in Black solo. Is there anything to that? The Slayer.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! You know what? Listen to what I'm saying. This is life-changing stuff. You know what? To me, Jeff Hanneman was the driving force of Slayer, but I would never take away anything from Kerry King.
I agree.
But anyways, I'm pretty sure, I don't know for sure, that one or the other, it's probably Kerry King, because, you know, Jeff Hanneman played a Gibson Les Paul on some of that real early Slayer stuff. But it seems like Kerry King was really excessive with the bar. And when I say excessive, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And so it took me a while to hear this. And really, this is supposed to be a punchline type of thing. When you listen to Spirit in Black from Slayer and listen to the guitar solo, the guitar solo does something no other guitar solo in the world has ever done. There might have been people that have copied this since. You know, when you was growing up, you'd hear that a guitar player, a virtuoso guitar player, can make a guitar talk.
Yeah.
And then you take someone like Eddie Van Halen, and he made an elephant sound, and all these different sounds from a guitar. Well, I don't know if I want to spoil the surprise on this. We almost need to do a part 2 on this. Every listener that's hearing this needs to listen to, and I don't know if you need to analyze it, but you need to listen to Spirit in Black in the dark. You can't have any distraction. Because there's something going on in that solo that no one's ever done with a guitar solo. And so, I mean, I don't want to give it away. But
somebody already did, I think. Your buddy already did.
What did they say?
They said it sounded like Ghosts. Is that what you were getting at?
Okay, there's the giveaway. It's a ghost. It's a ghost. It's a ghost. And so here it is. I thought to myself, okay, all these like god guitar players, from Eddie Van Halen to Joe Satriani to Ted Nugent, and then you go into the underground metal stuff, even Randy Rhoads, and all these more commercialized and better known names. Find me a guitar player in 1986 or earlier. Wait, no, that album was 88. But anyways, find me a guitar player that made the sound of a ghost in the way that Kerry King and or Jeff Hanneman did it. And so, and as if that weren't enough, the song is titled Spirit in Black. And so every and any song that has the word black in its title is usually a pretty brutal song. And so that song lyrically, and then that song, as far as the guitar solo, is just untouchable. And when you consider, you hear a ghost in the guitar solo, that's untouchable.
All right, so I want to challenge everybody in the chat that's listening. Name a song that has the word black in it that is not brutal. So let's challenge Chris right now. Name me a song that has black in the title that's not a brutal song. So we'll test this theory out right now. I agree with you. Even the song Black Betty is brutal to me.
Well, I got a black for you, and take note of this: Black Friday, not Uriah Heep Black Friday. talking
Come on.
Megadeth. Black Friday.
Megadeth Black Friday. Yeah.
Black Friday from Megadeth is 1986, and that predates this Walmart commercialized world of calling Black Friday the day after Thanksgiving. And so Black Friday is a day of bludgeoning and dismemberment and torture. Read the lyrics to Black Friday from Megadeth. So Black Friday is right up there with Spirit in Black.
Men in Black. Yeah, well, yeah, that counts. It's not a metal song, I don't think, but.
No, I said Spirit in Black. No, not Men in Black. No.
No. I'm talking about the people in the chat trying to challenge them to name a song with black in the title. That's not a brutal song. The Black album by Metallica sucks.
Yeah, but there's no song with that such
Right,
a title.
You're right.
And just let me make this assertion too, that ROTTREVORE never had a black song, but I wrote a black song that I started in 2006. And I worked on it up to about 2013, and it's entitled "Underscored with Black," but it's a recording in progress, and so it's not gotten out there yet.
Nice. Back in Black, Fraser, stop it. Back in Black is heavy
For being commercialized, acceptable rock and roll, I would say, yeah.
It's not.
Well, how about Black Star from Malmsteen? That's untouchable.
All right, so let's go back to me, like the I guess the scene in your and I guess you guys were considered Pittsburgh area, correct?
Yeah, because if we would mention like Pricedale or Bell Vernon,
yeah,
Charleroi, nobody's going to know that. So it's funny though, a lot of the bands in Pittsburgh and the few fans that have been in Pittsburgh throughout the years, they don't really see us as a Pittsburgh band because we're too far out of the city. But when on a worldwide scale, we're regarded as a Pittsburgh band. So
what are your memories on the early scene there in we'll just say Pittsburgh, like with bands like like Hideous and Dercada and whoever else? I mean, speak a little bit about the early days of that time, that scene.
It was interesting because it's like everybody aspired to discover this, making up your own music and making up your own likeness, and coming up with your own band name and making songs and so forth. But I think like Sathanos, they're one of the oldest ones, and Sathanos is a tremendous band with a whole bunch of song titles with black in it, by the way. So Paul Tucker, I can't say enough about Paul Tucker. Paul Tucker's tremendous, and that's one of the better bands to me. And then of course there was a lot of grindcore type stuff that come out of this area that I like to think of Chaotic Plague having the grindcore quality. And then Sam had his band Hideous Manglius, of course, and they had grindcore roots about them. And I liked Sam's idea of one of the 7-inch EPs was titled "We Live, You Sleep." I thought that was pretty good. We live, you sleep, because sleep is sleep is its own form of death. So anyhow, but back then though, there was some kind of there was a camaraderie about the scene, and everybody seemed to be in it together and support each other, and it was a neat, close-knit community. And the neat thing about it is Bell Vernon to me was its own little mini death metal capital or underground metal capital, because there was two places to play. One was the Odyssey, and it would later become the Pit, or vice versa. And then there was Jam and Skate, a roller skating rink that was in the upstairs part of this building. And we brought in underground metal bands and the likes of Ripping Corpse, Primeval, Immolation, Deceased. Help me out, Sam. There's from out of town, these out of town bands.
Revenant, stuff like
Revenant, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. So a lot of out of town bands were at the time would come here just because it was its own mini mecca of underground metal music. and no one would ever guess that Ripping Corpse and Immolation and them would go on to, well, when I say Ripping Corpse, you can assume Hate Eternal and Eric Rutan with Morbid Angel and, of course, Cannibal Corpse. But it was the neatest thing. While this was happening, we didn't realize how much value there was to it. But looking hindsight, we had a little gold mine of underground death metal right here in Bell Vernon. I'm saying right here now because right now I'm in Roscoe, and Bell Vernon's not more than 6 miles from here.
That's right, Roscoe. How can I forget Roscoe?
Yeah, Roscoe.
Well, here's a show flyer right now. Actually, it has Hideous and ROTTREVORE. What are you talking about? The Electric Banana. That's one place that people actually know. Like I've heard about the Electric Banana for years. I never went there, but do you have any memories of this specific? It looks like Batham played and Hideous and you guys.
It looks like Sam made the flyer because since Hideous Manglers is up in the top front and center.
Yeah, exactly.
They're the feature band.
Yeah. So
with Batham, I don't know how informed you are. You know, Batham is kind of former Sathanos. Are you aware of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but the Banana. Did you guys play there a lot? Because I've heard of that place for years.
Yeah, we played the Electric Banana frequently, and we would play in front of an empty room frequently and play for the other band and the bartender.
But that night it was packed and they didn't pay.
Well, Sam seems to think and
They were
called a memory that
wall to wall, and Judy and whatever said, "Fuck you."
Can Yins hear him?
Yins. Hey, I got my first yins.
But anyway, they said, "No,
I usually
fuck
say y'all."
yourself. Like, I got a gun and I'm not going to pay you." And he literally had pulled out his gun and said, "Like, we don't care. It's packed from wall to wall. You ain't get paid."
Oh yeah. You know what? If he had a problem with you, he set you straight with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Johnny Banana.
Because I think there's like even Anal Cunt used like an intro, like
from
Electric Banana. But yeah, that's cool. Let me see. I got another one here. See if I can find it real quick. It's another show. This one appears to be out of this is in Buffalo. Let's talk about a brutal show right here.
What is there a date on it? I'm trying to make out a date. Is it in the 90s? It has to be.
Yeah, it was at the Sky Room in Buffalo.
Okay. And wait, Tonawanda, Niagara Falls,
that area.
Niagara Falls vicinity. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, that would be quite an assembly, wouldn't it?
Mortician, Incantation, ROTTREVORE, Immortal Terror. There you go. The AC 88 song EP had that Banana intro. I knew it. Johnny Banana. That was the guy. That was the owner's name.
Oh yeah, Johnny Banana.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh, November. Look, we got Roy, the historian. November 1990. That show there apparently.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess got some smart people hanging out here, man. Or well, maybe they're probably just old. Not really smart. They're just old.
Yeah.
Shit. Now, I saw a shirt. I was going to ask you. I saw a shirt that said ROTTREVORE, Mexico. You guys played in Mexico? I don't remember you guys ever playing in Mexico. Did that happen?
Yeah, I had a different lineup of guys back then. There's a lot to that story. I don't want to comment too much on it. But okay. I had a different lineup, and we got a Mexican tour, and anyways, coordinating everything and working out the details and the arrangements were pretty haphazard, and things didn't really fall into place well, and it was all in all kind of a bad experience. But I want to say we had some 17 tour dates, and I think we did 6 or 7 of them, and then we had to bail out, head back north into the States.
Gotcha. Well, here's one that probably bring back good memories. According to Roy, this was the very first show.
You know what? That's on. I believe that guy's name was Walt Corey, and Sam went to high school with him, and he had
committed suicide in his basement where you're filming.
That's good to know. But anyhow, that was a party, like a party at his house on his patio, in his backyard and stuff. And we literally put on a show at a private party, and it was a lot of fun. And Disharmonic Orchestra played that. That's right. Yeah, in the basement.
Holy shit! Well, talk about a party. Talk about a party right there.
Yeah. Talk about a party.
Oh, Mastro gave Roy that picture. He just wanted to credit him.
Oh yeah.
Here's somebody had a comment. Your voice was in the league of Craig Pillard and Mark, so was Mark. So.
Oh yeah, there you go. So that's Brian Peterson. Is that what that says?
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian Peterson made that comment. Oh, okay. Well, thanks, Brian. Yeah, that's what I mean. I when someone else says it, it's really special and genuine, because you can't. Who wants to talk about themselves and say they're this or that? I want to. I aspire to be a great musician, but let everyone else fill in the blanks.
Now here's a classic, legendary show. Now, the Fleets Fest of Freaks. You got any memories of this one?
Was that Rhode Island? Yeah, Club Baby.
Yeah, Club Babyhead.
Yeah, that was a fun show, and that was like a small festival of sorts. That was a fun show. Yeah.
Yeah, it had a lot of heavy hitters though. I mean, Impetigo, Deceased, Incantation, you guys, Flim, and I think that was 92, I believe.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, Phlegm and Repulsion, they were kind of like what was that, Impetigo? They was like kind of gross sounding grindcore.
Oh yeah. I know them well.
Yeah,
I know them well. That's a pretty infamous show these days. Somebody asked about the Iniquitous reissue. Is apparently, I guess, Extreme recently reissued that. You want to talk a little bit about that? Is that available or?
Yeah, it is. It was reissued again. It came out in 2009 as a reissue, and I don't know how many copies were pressed then, and then it was reissued at the end of 2020 or the beginning of this year, 2021. I don't know how many copies were made of it, but there's different colored vinyls. There's white with green and black splatter. There's I don't want to go through the whole list, but there's like a clear one with black and green splatter. And then there's even cassette tapes. The cassette tape shells are so neat. They're green with black print on them. So the reissue is a pretty neat thing because it's still getting the music out there. And if I were to guess, like if Dave Rotten would, if we had something to put out there, I don't know how much he'd help us with it. But anyways, I like to think there's listeners out there would like to hear something beyond Iniquitous, because Iniquitous is 28 and a half years old.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because this, talk a little bit about this one, the Hung by Eye Sockets. I think that was 2013?
Oh, wow. This is going to be a big 55-gallon drum of worms.
Oh, well, I mean, we don't have to talk about it if you don't want to. I just thought it.
Yeah, here's a briefing on it. Those were like songs that were unrecorded. Back then when we did them songs a whole 10 years ago, those were songs that I was literally starting to make before Iniquitous was even done or finished being recorded. And anyways, there's more to that story. I got to save that. That'll use up all the time here.
Okay.
But anyways, those songs, I preserve them songs on. Wait, I got to show this. Ready? Everyone's going to get offended. This is really X-rated stuff. You ready to see this? I'm going to show you something. Right here.
Yeah.
Cassette player. And I'm ashamed to say that I think it came from Walmart. But anyhow, my last Radio Shack brand cassette player died on me some 5 or 6 years ago. So anyhow, all the songs that are featured on Hung by the Eye Sockets, or otherwise known as Blindsided Attack, I saved them from back then in the 90s. I literally recorded them songs in instructional form in the 1990s on a cassette tape. And this, by the way, is still my best friend with recording, and the reason being is because it's analog. And so
I use a cell phone to record, to try to remember riffs nowadays.
Well, the funny thing is I don't want to dwell on the subject of this because we could have another whole altogether different program on this. You know, this could preserve the music as good as the phone that everybody has.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
But anyhow, I saved the songs then on cassette tape, and so when I needed to relearn them, I just consulted with that cassette tape, because otherwise those songs that are featured on that EP would have been forgotten. So, those songs weren't represented as like I wanted them to be, because
I got you.
Yeah, there's great production on it and stuff, and I've heard a lot of people say that it's overproduced, and Eric Rutan had his hands in on the production of that, and he is a master at his craft and everything he puts his hands to. But that's that EP. If I could do it all over again, I would, for a lot of reasons. I don't want to go into them right now, but it's still, I had a heavy guitar sound on there that Eric Rutan dialed in for me.
Awesome. Somebody brought something. Oh, I mean, I'm getting mixed, I guess, reviews on the reissue. I don't know if you've heard it. Some people are saying the vinyls, I guess the sound leaves a little bit of desired, the pressing itself, I guess, and some people say it's good. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Wait, you're talking about, is it about the vinyl of Iniquitous?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, hell, I don't know nothing about that. It's like, if it has compromised sound quality, I never put one on a turntable to even listen to it.
Okay. Yeah, well, somebody
I'm
used
sorry, I don't know nothing about that.
Okay. Well, so let me ask you about. I got to bring this up because my brother Roy, did you how much did you have into putting this thing together with Roy? That the Disembodied thing, the demo 7-inch and live stuff collection, and what are your thoughts on this? Were you pleased with it and how it turned out?
Yeah, you know what, that turned out pretty good, and to me, you know, that production, to me, is almost like, I hate to say this, but it's almost like scavenging, you know, because there's no material out there to make, it's like, you know, reissue that stuff. And the neat thing about it, though, is it gets out there to a lot more people than it would have back then with just underground tape trading and just, you know, meeting people up at shows and selling them a cassette tape and stuff of that nature. So I don't know when that was done by Roy Fox, but like
2000, I can't remember. He'll chime in, but the packaging turned out great. I thought, and overall,
yeah. But anyways, I like it. I mean, it's neat with, you know, Mark's got really beautiful artwork. I like the artwork that he created for that. And Mark made the logo to ROTTREVORE. You can't say enough about that. It's not symmetrical or nothing, but that Rot logo is outstanding. And so, you know, it's a product that has our name on it, and got Mark's artwork and stuff, and supported by the music we make, or have made at least. And but no, I don't know. Like, through the years, as that stuff was being released, all I had my mind on was production and getting more songs out there.
yeah. I guess the vinyl, I guess it wasn't really mastered for vinyl. I guess they used a CD mastering for the vinyl.
Maybe.
But anyway, somebody else had another comment. I wanted to get with you. Guess I missed it. All right. So I in doing a little bit of research. Going back to Mark's. Mark did he did logos for I'm trying to remember. He did logos for other bands too, right?
Yeah, it's Arcada and Immolation.
That's right. Hey, yeah, how can I forget? How can I forget the classic Immolation logo too? Oh,
yeah.
Yep. Fraser wants to know: do you have any plans of recording anything new? Do you have anything? Any material?
That's the hardest part of all of this for me is production, because I have the music, but as a means to get it recorded, that's my obstacle. And so I don't know what avenue to turn down with that. And the sad thing is a sophomore album, even if it featured almost everything and anything that just came from me and me only, I have a lot of faith in, because these songs were really crafted to perfection. And so where the funding or the possibilities to make this real are going to come from, I don't know. But I have songs and I have the production, and I feel pretty sure, though, if I had some kind of support, help, and backing with it, that it would be it would pay its dividends, because I got songs. How's this sound? This is there's a section on this recording that's worthy of making a note of. I gave a rough draft recording or a rough mix recording of some of this material to a regular drummer, I'll call it, and I let him listen to it. And all this recording has is scratch tracks, rhythm guitar, and scratch tracks, bass guitar, and programmed drums. And so it's got three elements that uphold the song, and they sound really good. And I let this guy, this regular person type drummer, hear this recording, and I gave it to him on a disc, and he gave me the disc back, and he was disgusted. And so I was happy because he was disgusted, because he told me that he says, "Dude, I don't want to listen to your music anymore. I don't like your music. When I listen to your music, it makes me want to kill myself." That's exactly what I said. So try to imagine this. Listen to me. I'm going to break this down for you. There's no vocals there. There's no overdub guitar. There's no soloing. All these other little things that would embellish the song are not present. So in its most stripped down form, the tone and the mood that's conveyed through the sound of these songs is enough to make somebody want to kill themselves. And better yet, maybe if it'd been better that he'd have said, "Your music makes me want to kill everybody." But he didn't say it that way. He said kill himself. So anyways, if that's any kind of indication what the music sounds like, it don't even need vocals, and it makes a mood like that. You go from there.
That's death metal right there. But yeah, we'll put it out there. This video's out here if anybody's interested in doing something with ROTTREVORE. There you go. There's stuff there. All right, cool. Well, we're gonna start winding this down. If anybody has any specific questions for Chris,
well, I don't really have questions so much.
No, people in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to shoot a question?
Yeah, if anybody wants to
shoot. Yeah.
While that's getting out there, I want to talk about this photo here with Blaine.
Oh yeah, that's a great photo. Yeah. Well, see, that was that was an awesome moment in my life, because the Accused are such an outstanding band. Because to me,
I agree.
The Accused are like the greatest punk band, and mixed almost like a 50-50 mix with death metal, because of that raunchy guitar sound and the way he put what's the guitar player's name, Sam? I can't even think of his name.
The new guitar player is the old bass player.
Anyways, so and then Blaine with those vocals, that is so outstanding how Blaine does vocals. So for like an all out death metal, and stuff that's death metal 100%, and to get into something like The Accused is outstanding, just because they're like a punk band on like death metal steroids. And so for me to go see them and actually get on stage and literally stage dive at age 49. That's the first time I ever stage dove was when I got on The Accused stage and jumped into the crowd. Yeah, so I think the world of The Accused. The Accused got them death metal steroids, and they're a punk band.
Oh, I love it. It's one of my all-time favorite bands. If you share that opinion, I actually have an episode on here with Blame from The Accused, so y'all should check that out. Talking about all the Q songs. So yeah, hell yeah, that fucking rules. And I remember reading that, or I don't know if I read it or Sam told me that you were stage diving. I was like, holy shit, At
age 49, yeah.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy, man. I was like, here's Carl asked about a band. Evicium was Mark's band, like in the mid 2000s, I think, something like that. So just to answer that question.
It might catch the tail end of the 90s, but yeah, I want to say 2000, 2001, 02, and maybe 03 or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe even into 04, but yeah.
Here's a question. How do you feel about so many new bands influenced by ROTTREVORE these days?
If that's even true, I mean, as far as the bands that are, that's a remarkable thing, and that is very honorable, and is and it makes me feel special that anybody would consider Rot as a influence. And,
this is, Church of Disgust. You can definitely I hear some ROTTREVORE influences in that band for sure.
Oh well, good. I'm about to listen for Church of Disgust. I like it.
Yeah. It's fucking. They're a good band. They're like I'd say newer band. They've been around a while now, but they do shit right. I'll put it to you that way.
Yeah, I'm anxious to hear them.
Yeah, there you go, Dustin. So, but yeah, so that's a good question actually. Well, cool.
If there ain't no more questions, can I make another assertion here?
Please.
Okay. With social media and stuff, like there is, I don't know, is it going across the screen? I think it is, about a ROTTREVORE Weber Mastro page.
Yes,
and
it's on there.
Because that is the page to consult with, because that's in direct connection to myself, obviously, and I'd like to build it up, because I'm at that place in my life where the only way to communicate with people is probably going to be through that outlet. And so I just want people, when they go on to Facebook, when they see the other pages that might be out there, just know that the one that's tagged with Weber and Mastro is the one to consult with. And
there you go.
That's got the most real, accurate, and up-to-date information, because it's Mark, myself, even though Mark really isn't part of Rot, I still talk to Mark frequently, and we're in contact. And so this is the outlet to get all information about Rot. And everybody hearing this, if you would be so kind, please spread that word to everybody out there in the world, in the death metal underground world.
I'll put the link. It's on the ticker there, but I'll put the link like on the description after the live stream is over. I'll put the direct link. I'll put the direct link. So if you're on Facebook, go like and follow the damn page immediately if you haven't already. Okay. Here's something else. Oh, there's a band called Fetid. Actually, they're hugely. There's a huge ROTTREVORE sound, which I'm glad Roy brought that up, because you guys would do like I don't know what to call them, but there'd be like where we'd be just like bass and drum sections that not too many people did.
Oh yeah.
And this band Fetid does that a lot, and I think that's definitely directly inspired by what you guys did too. So
yeah, it's funny you should say that, because I think of all the songs, especially off the Iniquitous album, I think Incompetent Secondary, which would be track 7 on the Iniquitous album, you know, that song's driven by that bass guitar, because I had it in mind when I wrote that song. I says, I want something to be outstanding about this song, and I want it to revolve around that bass line. And so, and then have distortion on the bass. And so I think there's a lot of bands that overlook the value of a bass guitar.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, not too many people like, especially that was more like of a grindcore thing, right? Grindcore bands had that bass real prominent, but like as far as like full on death metal bands, not too many people did, and you guys definitely do that. And there's like a lot of younger bands that actually kind of borrow that.
Well, more specifically, it's them parts where like the guitars aren't there, and it's just that bass guitar with the drums.
Exactly.
Yeah. So like, and then like when I make bass lines now to my songs, like, you know, when chords are sustaining, you want that bass to be doing something a little bit different so that it stands out, because, you know, the grinding distortion of the guitars is carrying forth. And, you know, if you're just hitting the bass note once, it just kind of gets lost with that guitar. So I have bass lines that I've made up, and hear me out, they're not bass solos, but I got bass lines that define the sound of my songs, because I'm playing something different than what the guitar is. And so it ain't even a matter of it's just the drums playing and a bass guitar with distortion on it. It's the idea that, you know, I'm playing a bass line while these guitar chords are sustaining, and so the bass stands out even when the guitars are still ringing.
Yeah, awesome. Here's another guy with a direct influence. He had your voice as an influence when he did his EP with Lee Harrison for Monstrosity. He took influence from you. So that's cool.
Wait, hold on one second. What's this about Lee Harrison?
No, this guy here. Let me put the comment. Brian Peterson. He said he had your voice was an influence on him whenever he did a EP with Lee Harrison from Monstrosity. Just
okay. Well, tell him I said thanks, and tell him to tell Lee I said hello, because I used to call Lee years ago on an old rotary phone, dialing him up in Florida. Say, Lee, hey, try to get Rott some shows down in Florida. And back then it never turned into anything, but I still remember calling Lee all the time on a phone, the old rotary phone.
Awesome. Well, I think I'll ask one more. Somebody asked something off the wall. Somebody asked something off the wall, so I'll pick that question. Where'd he go? Oh, can you ask him? Okay, I'll put it up. Can you ask him if he ever saw the movie At Close Range, and what did you think of it?
You know what? I'm a bad person to ask about movies.
Yeah, same here. So.
I haven't seen that many movies in my life. And the few movies that I've seen, I really liked. And I get bored of movies real fast. But that particular movie and that title, no, I never seen it.
There you go. I asked, man. What do you want from me, man? I asked. So there you go. Yeah. Cool, man. Hey, well, Chris,
wait. Sam's got an insertion. Yeah, he has a question.
Go ahead.
Hey, where did the ROTTREVORE name come from?
Okay, there you go.
Well, you know, that's going to take too long to answer.
We'll save that for another time.
Yeah, we're going to have to save it for another time. But there's a reason why we made up a word, because ROTTREVORE, and the way it's spelled, is not a proper word. And Mark and myself made that word up. And so, on another future podcast, we'll go deeper into that, because it's an amazing story about how we come up with the name.
It's catchy as hell. It rolls off the tongue real well.
Yeah.
So, well, cool, man. Chris, man, like I said, I appreciate you coming on here, man. It was an honor having you on here, sharing your stories with us. I think everybody pretty much stuck around the whole time, so that's a good sign that it was a pretty fucking good show. So,
are you able to see who was listening and listening in, or are you able to see that?
Yeah, I got all that in front of me.
All right, because I want the list when we're done with this. All right.
Well, you'll be able to see it. You just froze on me.
No, what I'm saying is,
watch it, you'll be able to see it.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Okay.
whenever it's on YouTube, the chat, it'll usually show up about an hour or two after, like, the live stream is
What
over.
about when he got kicked out of Chaotic Plague?
No. We'll save that for another time. So anyway, again, man, I appreciate it. It was cool. Everybody that hung out and asked questions, I appreciate it. It was awesome. Hopefully you enjoyed it, Chris. I did. I thought it was a damn good show.
Yeah.
It was fun. Thanks to Roy Fox, thanks to Sam Biles, thanks to John McEntee for helping me get in touch with you, and thanks for everybody that was participating in the chat. It was fucking cool as hell, man. This was I had a blast. I wish all shows would go like this. This was fucking great.
Yeah. So I'm glad. I had fun myself.
Man, I appreciate it. So if you would just hold on for a second there, I'm gonna kind of sign off and then and go off live, and then I'll get back with you here in a second.
No, keep all that on.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
I'll be right back. So again, thank you very much. There you go. DJ Hellhammer, I'll ask him that here in a minute. I haven't been ignoring that. But maybe that's something Roy could do. Who knows? But I still have my CD and all that, so I haven't heard. I didn't even know about those things until I started doing research for this. So again, man, it was awesome. I appreciate everybody hanging out. Thanks everybody. Tell everybody about the show. This is cool. I mean, like I say it all the time, I just have people on here that I respect, people's stuff that I grew up listening to. And I never thought I'd be fucking doing this, talking to them. So it's awesome. ROTTREVORE is just the sickest, and he was, of course, he's not going to, he was very humble. So that's cool. But definitely a legendary band that made their mark. And, I just enjoy the shit out of them. So, again, Sunday, just a reminder, Scott from Cyanide is going to be here. Any Cyanide fans out there? I love fucking Cyanide. Scott rules. He's going to be on here. We're going to be talking Cyanide and doing, maybe listening to some Cyanide and have him talk about certain songs, his input, going from the demo days all the way up to the latest one, the Unhumanized, which is still great. So again, I can't thank you guys enough for hanging out. It's cool. You guys make the show I mean, I could sit here and talk to them and all that, and that'd be great. That'd be awesome. But having you guys just chime in and all that, giving input, those of you guys that know these people a lot closer, like the bass cabinet thing that Sharon brought up, that's cool. Spirit in Black thing, that's awesome. So, yeah, made the show a lot of fun. I had a blast. So anyhow, I guess that's it. I'll leave John Graves' comment there, because total sewage. That's what's on the back of my shirt. So anyway, again, everybody, good night. We'll see you guys Saturday night. Later. Yes, he does. Scott's fucking, he's the best. So it's gonna be great. All right. See ya.